Hi everyone. So today I wanted to make this might be a short video, but a little research note. I've been doing work on something for my dissertation, hopefully. I've been reading this chronicle of Ottoman historian named Ibrahim Peçevi. This is the manuscript image of the first two folios. I've been reading this part about Um, this is the part about Suleiman. He starts with the reign of Sultan Suleiman, um, and but he makes an interesting kind of anecdote because in this, I'm not going to read the entire thing because I don't have a nice clean translation yet. But he describes the kind of Suleiman's birth and that he's kind of like a great man of history type thing. Um, and describes the kind of the appearance of Suleiman and his physical features and how he carries himself. But he then kind of makes this funny sort of digression that at the time of Suleiman's birth, um, that this kind of red wearing a red turban was sort of in fashion, it seems, among like the military class and other people who worked for the government, essentially. But then he goes on to quote another history. This is kind of a bit of a tangent, but this is kind of an interesting thing about Ibrahim Peçevi is he actually like quotes he gets his information from, or he explains it in some of the chapters. And then he quotes another Ottoman historian, Hoca Sadeddin, who was the Sheikh Islam under, I think it was Mehmed III at the end of the 16th century. And Pechevi is writing in his retirement in probably 1630s, or at least we seem to think he completed his history, at least by the time he probably died in 1640. But anyway, so he quotes Hoja Sadeddin and talks about how um, in the basically in the kingdoms of the Franks, that would be Europeans, and of Rum, that would be Anatolia and the Balkans, Ottoman Anatolia and the Balkans, that the weather required wool and another fabric, sakralad, which it's not clear what right now what that means, um, and something like a woolen down, and it was a kind of a gift given to have a felt hat of some kind, and given a red and yellow or gold and black hat. They wore that. Um, and he also writes that the best clothing is white, probably because of the climate, I would seems, and that or I'm sorry, the best cap is comprised of white fabric, which makes sense, to keep the sun. Um, and that the soldiers, basically the military class, by wearing white, the face of the state was whitened, was made proud, or maybe, and also probably a play on words with the color. But the more interesting thing goes on and talks about that when it came to the time of Sultan Yildirim Bayezid, So this would have been in that would have been Bayezid the First, who reigned from 1389 to 1402. So that's fairly early if we think Osman himself lived in the late 13th century. That the quantity of the soldiers made necessary, or it became necessary to clothe the abundant soldiers, and that so consequently they chose garments for the troops to divide them into two different classes. And he credits this. This was a suggestion of a Amir of Amirs, so a head commander named Umurtash Bey. Maybe there's more sources about him, I'm not sure. And gave for the imperial cavalry, specifically a white cap, and for the people of the court, and the ayans of the states, this would be the notables and the pillars of the state, basically all of the kind of high up people in the court and the government, for their servants, they were given a red tall felt cap, so a kizil burk, and I think that would be, we go to the Ralam costume book from the 17th century, which is handy. That would be this red conical hat, which I think is kind of funny looking, but they seem to like it. That was given to the kind of the servants. This is a Bostanji palace. And then he goes on to describe the command to give the Janissaries their distinctive cap, which is, I think, should be quite well known to people of this channel. A kind of this sort of headgear. So pretty interesting. I have not looked at the original source of Hoca Sadeddin, although I do have one of the manuscript copies saved. But this is interesting because it seems to show that the Ottomans had kind of decided on some sort of uniformity to different members of the kind of military and political class quite early on. So, like I said, Yildirim Bayezid is in the late 14th century. So that would have been during the Battle of Nicopolis. And he was the one defeated in 1402 by Timur, or Tamerlane, as he's known in some other in other Western works. So it's quite interesting, I think, that they either that really was the case, or at least that's how it was remembered in the empire by the time of Peçevi, which would be almost about 2.5 centuries later. So I hope you found that kind of interesting. Like I said, I don't have a full kind of clean translation, but this is just sort of a little research note, I guess. And I hope you guys liked it, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.